Welcome back to VU Divulged. I'm Blake Gardner.
I'm Ija Chambers.
I'm Anthony Polkowski, and today we are talking about the cold case of Lowell Badger down in Sullivan, Indiana. He was shot in the head on December 8th, 2012, and to this day, no one really knows who did it. They don't really have any ideas, because out of everything in the house, the only thing that the murderers took was a TV and a safe.
A gray-colored safe.
A gray-colored safe, yeah.
With a 46-inch Sony LCD TV.
Yeah.
In fact.
Do we have the model of the safe? I believe we have that.
Manufactured by John D. Brush. That's all I got. Gray-colored safe.
Kind of weird thing just to take.
I know, like
out of everything.
And you know what? Honestly, when I first heard that they took a safe, like I thought, like surely, that would be somebody would have information of somebody showing up with a safe, like a TV. I could understand, you getting that at a yard sale from a friend or something, but showing up with a safe that you don't know the combination to, you can't say it's an old safe because, it, based on the reports, it was still in pristine condition. Well, maybe not pristine, but, fairly kept. So you're telling me you showed up at home with a safe, you don't know the combination, it looks pretty good, so, because you would think if you bought the safe, you would have gotten the combination with it. Right, you wouldn't just get a safe and not know the password. And, you can't really hide a safe in your back pocket and walk out with it.
No.
So
there'd have to be a vehicle involved, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Something that is big enough to carry.
And especially
because it's like it's a pretty large safe. It's probably from like me to Ija's laptop sized according to the pictures. But
so let me. The first picture we have here for our viewers, that is Mr. Badger. He was described to be a very community man. His son stated that even if it was just for an hour, his dad would show up to every event. So this man was very well loved and respected in the community, and to this day, even his church is still posting, signs and other stuff to help encourage people to come forward with any information they may or not have. And this is not the safe itself. This is a replica of the safe, according to police. And you can't really just walk out with that. That looks like it would weigh about, 50, 60 pounds?
it rolls.
It rolls? Oh, yeah, it does. So, but even then, you got to get it out of the house. And you're not going to walk off with a safe. You're not really going to roll down the road with a safe. But unfortunately, Mr. Badger lived in the middle of nowhere, so maybe that was one reason his home was targeted. Because since he lived out in the middle of nowhere, there's no one really to see what's going on, right? Like my neighborhood, if I see a car in front of my neighbor's house, right, like I know he owns a red truck, so if I see a white sedan out there, I'm going to go, that's not normal. There's either he has guests, but then if the police come up to my house and say, hey, did you see anything suspicious the other day? I'm going to go, yeah, there was a white sedan in front of his house because he doesn't drive one.
Well, wasn't he also, you said he was also killed by a gunshot? Well, there you go too. Like, he's in the middle of nowhere. No one's probably going to hear it.
Mm-hmm. That's what, a lot of murders take place on 4th of July because it masks the sound of a gunshot. But, that is also how a lot of crimes are reported to police. They're like, we heard some gunshots in the neighborhood. So, with no one out there, it truly makes it a little more difficult for police to solve. And like I said, it's really the safe that I would think somebody would have come forward with information on.
I mean, I think it's a lot of things too, because first of all, the questions come like, what happened? Why did it happen? But also, what was in the safe? What drove them to take the safe? I mean, the 46-inch Sony TV, okay, fine. Yeah, money or a nice TV, okay. When you get to the safe, though, that's where you're kind of asking questions of, like, did they know it was in the safe, or did they take it and they cracked it open and they found there was just a bunch of papers in it, which really wouldn't surprise me. I also come from a very small town community. My graduating class was like 15 kids, and I lived out in the middle of nowhere. I was in the drainage of 3 cornfields, and this guy's a retired farmer, and that's what my family does. We farm. We live out to the point where our closest neighbors, I might be able to see them, but I'll never see them outside because they're just far enough away that I wouldn't be able to do that. And I don't think that most of the areas around me would be able to say that if there was a gunshot at one of the houses in my nearby area that they could hear it. And for that to happen here, it's just kind of the same principle. It's a very hard thing to find anybody for because there's no information being out that far.
Now, I grew up, I'm going to ask you this because how often would you say loud bangs occur? Because I grew up in the city. Well, I grew up on the edge. Like there's my house. You go down the street, the size of a normal city block. There's about a cul-de-sac of houses, and then there's a farm. So I literally like farmland. I grew up on the edge of the city, but not in a farmland. So how often would you say random like loud bangs occurred with like all that farming equipment?
Pretty often. I wouldn't just base it off of farming equipment though. I'd just say like you're in small town America, everybody's got firearms, everybody's out shooting.
Yeah, that was my next point.
I'm pretty sure somebody has a cannon near our house. I don't know why, I don't know where.
There's a farmer's market about distance wise 12 blocks away from my house. And yeah, that thing when they fire it's only by compressed air, but yeah, that thing is loud because farmers own a lot of fun toys and machines for farming. So a loud noise out in the middle of nowhere, surrounded in a farming community, doesn't really
shock anybody.
Raise all that suspicion. Yeah, but would you think it would be someone that knew him or not?
Easily both. I mean, probably someone that know him in the community. Because he was at every event, so people knowing him, a lot of people just knowing him or seeing him, probably not.
Especially and especially if it's a rural community, and what you said earlier is, did they know about this safe? Because in my opinion, if they walked in and only left with a TV and a safe, I think that makes it seem like they knew about it. Like that's a pretty good idea because they didn't take a whole lot of money unless there was some in the safe. We don't know what was in the safe, but it didn't seem much like it was a burglary. But I don't know if they planned on like murdering him.
Does it say where he was shot? Was he shot in his bed? Is there any information on that?
Yeah, it was in his bedroom.
Was it in his bedroom? Okay.
Yeah,
but was it in his bed? Because those are two different things.
It was late at night, I believe. Because they don't know the exact time of death, but I do believe police reports say it was around 8 to 10 at night.
I mean, for safety's sake, none of us are investigators or journalists or anything involved in that.
Oh, no.
However, the thought process that goes through my head in that is that there's a difference between the bed and the bedroom, because if he's laying in bed, it could more likely lead to being murder because he was shot in his bed while he was still asleep. They didn't have any reason to if it was just a burglary. Whereas if he's up, then it probably might have been a burglary that had gone wrong. They woke him up, and then he's awake and trying to figure out what's going on, and then here's this guy that just in the end shoots him. But it doesn't actually say in the reports what it was. They said bedroom, but that doesn't decide whether it's out of bed.
I mean, I would probably say he was probably in bed. I mean,
if it's not late at night, I would say most likely in bed. And you make a good point, because if not that I'm going to, but if I broke into someone's house and I saw them lying there, that's a risk, right? Especially if I'm trying to wheel out a safe that's the size of a mini fridge, give or take a few inches in each direction. So clearly this, I think, had to be thought out, right? You can't, they drove up to his house, one, because he lives in the middle of nowhere, and two, they walked off with a safe. So clearly they didn't just walk out with it. It's not like his wallet that you could put in your back pocket and just walk off. This is a safe that you ain't hiding. I mean, who knows? Maybe they knew about the safe and they put it in the back of a trailer.
just took off. I mean, there's a lot of things they could do with it. They theoretically, I've never tried this, but they could probably blow it up with tannerite. The blast just might destroy the safe as well,
and the contents of it. You know, you could potentially cut into the side of it if you had the necessary tools to do
an
so.
oxyacetylene torch and just burn through it.
But once again, if the contents, like if it's money for a while, that sheer amount of heat and that, you know, you're essentially turning that safe into an oven. And plus, quite frankly, if I was a robber or a burglar, if I could not find or didn't know the code to the safe beforehand, I would say it's a lost cause. Because I don't know the safe, and you know, like the things we talked about, you know, you can crack open a safe, but you risk destroying the contents inside. And plus, out of everything to grab in that house, money, clothes, jewelry, you grab the item, the big item that, for all we know, it could have had his money, but you know, a lot of people just put their birth certificates and important documents in the safe for their identification. So even if you did crack it open, you're not really going to get anything out of it.
Could get social security cards, things
social
like
security,
that,
yeah,
for identity theft.
But you know, the moment he's declared dead, all that stuff gets shut off anyway. So to me, I don't think the safe would be worth it. So I truly think it would be somebody that either knew what was in the safe or possibly even had the combination, because if you knew the combination, you take the safe, take what's out of the safe, and then you throw the safe away.
In the report from Fox 59, it says that he was found next... I'm sorry, that's from our podcast research, actually. It says that he was found next to his son. Was his son dead?
No, he was found by his son.
By his... Okay.
Yeah, by his
so
son.
big
Like,
difference.
yeah, there's...
Clearly, I
the
just
son,
can't read.
The
My
son,
bad. My bad.
The son was who found him.
I mean, this is
this is a cold case for a reason.
Yeah, the report was put out that, you know, it's been 11 years since, what was it?
12.
It was updated on January 11th of 24, being 11 years, and that marks the 11th anniversary. So it's been a long time, and there's just not a lot of information to go off of. There's obviously the investigators did everything they could when they were there. They probably scrubbed for fingerprints and everything that they could find, and just nothing came of it.
And you know, like I mentioned earlier, you know, the community of Sullivan, they are still, like when I was doing research for this episode, I saw news articles or you know, snippets of news on YouTube of like yearly updates. Right, like every year you could go, like you want to see what they had on year 5, you want to see what they had on year 6. So clearly this is still a hot topic in Sullivan that they are wanting to keep alive, because it is a small community, and especially in a small community when everybody knows everybody and everyone's, you know, kind of part of your family. You know, more than just the family wants it solved.
I mean, I'll be honest, just from the little evidence there is, the only way you're going to ever find this person is for whatever reason he still has that safe. Otherwise, this person's never going to be identified.
Or confession.
That's or confession.
Which is the least likely scenario.
I would have thought, you know, somebody would have come forward once with the safe and said, hey, my friend showed up with a safe that I've never seen before.
Well, they did have like a bunch of tips throughout the years.
More than 150 interviews and investigating at least 275 tips.
Which, what's the population of Sullivan?
I can look it up real quick.
I don't remember it being that big of a town. I haven't been there for a while.
Well, that might just be from over the years. More, you know.
4,252 as of 2021.
So 200 people, that's a good chunk of the population of Sullivan. You know, it's...
No,
my hometown had 40,000 people.
There's no like
600.
Like, sorry. They never bring up any of the tips, so we don't really know what the tips are over. It could have just been like real loose things, but...
And, you know, a lot of tips, you know, they don't go anywhere because people think they know, or unfortunately, there are even some people who just want to be involved, and make up tips or make false confessions. But
so it says here that the involving agencies are mostly the Sheriff's Office for Sullivan County as well as the Indiana State Police, and they've been continuing to work on this investigation for the past 11-12 years. But there isn't really much they can do. I mean, we can't really fault them for not having an answer when it's not like plain as day in front of us. I mean, sometimes you just pull the first print you see and you got your guy, and sometimes it's just not going to happen.
And if you think about it, well, it also could have been a direct murder because if there's so little evidence, people just walking through someone's house, you leave lots of evidence, right? You leave hair, you leave dead skin cells, potentially anything that's on the bottom of your shoe. I've seen crimes shows and documentaries, not fake ones, but real ones, where they did find, who was it? There was one case where they literally solved who committed the murder because they had a thread of their shirt, and it matched. It was like a very specific thread or whatever, and it matched what the clothing they usually wore, and then that helped link them with the case, and then they were able to build off of it. But it started with a shirt thread. So just by walking through someone's house, you leave a lot of evidence. But really the main clues we have are a stolen TV and a stolen safe. That's not, in terms of a murder case, that is not a lot to go off of.
No.
Because TV, like I said earlier, it's a TV. But the safe, that in reality, that's kind of like one big piece of information, and that, quite frankly, you have to go off of is, did they know about the safe or did they not?
A $50,000 reward is being offered for information that leads to the conviction of the person or persons responsible for Lowell Badger's murder. Individuals with information are encouraged to contact Indiana State Police Trooper B.J. Patterson at 765-653-4114 or the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office at 812-268-4308.
All right. I know that was kind of a short episode, but this case has run cold. We will update should we hopefully receive more information. 11 years is a long time, approaching on 12. That's a very long time for, not knowing the answer. And not just for the son, but, for the city of Sullivan, because
it's a tragic loss for them.
It is a tragic loss for them because he was a well-known and respected member of their community. We will keep you all updated, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.